Okay. Uh, Alice, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Alice, do you want to give us your full name and spell it for us, please?
My name is Alice Lavinia Scanadar Ninham. You wanted the last name?
And would you spell all of those for us, please?
Alice, A-L-I-C-E, Lavinia, L-A-V-I-N-I-A, Scanadar, S-K-E-N-A-N-D-O-R-E, and Ninham, N-I-N-H-A-M.
All right, and what was your date of birth?
January 7th, 1932.
And where were you born?
I was born in Green Bay, in the Green Bay Hospital, but, we lived out in Oneida.
Okay. And give us the names of your parents.
My father's name is Walter Lloyd Scanadar, and my mother's name is Eva Matoxen Scanadar.
Okay. Now, do you remember the names of your grandparents?
Mm-hmm. My dad's father's name was Eli Scanadar, and my grandma's name on my dad's side was Lavinia Adams Scanadar, and my mother's name was Ida Matoxen, and her husband was Jameson Matoxen.
Okay. Let's talk about your dad's parents first. Where did they live?
As long as I can remember, they lived in Green Bay.
And the east side, west side?
West.
On the west side?
West, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of work did your grandfather do?
I think he worked at the Northern Paper Mill for many years.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I knew about him, and my grandma just stayed at home.
Now, do you know what kind of education your grandfather might have had?
No, I don't.
No. Did he speak Oneida?
Yes.
He did. Okay. And your grandmother, what was her educational background? Do you know?
No, I don't know anything about their
Okay.
educational background.
And did she work out of the house or mostly at home?
No, she was always a housekeeper.
Housekeeper? And how big was the family on that side of the family? The brothers and sisters?
Let's see, there was Margie. That was my Aunt Margie, that's how I knew her, and then my dad, Lloyd. And, well, my dad, I think, was the oldest. Then Margie and Uncle Teddy. That's all there was in their family.
And they all lived in Green Bay at the time?
My aunt lived with my grandma, grandpa, my Aunt Margie. And Teddy lived in Appleton. And I don't know what kind of work he did, but we never saw him very often.
Did you spend much time with your grandmother and grandfather in Green Bay?
Yeah, I used to, my mom used to always go in on Fridays to meet my dad, and then they'd go shopping, and I would usually go along with her, and we'd go by my grandma's house, stay for the day, and go shopping, and then that would be it.
What church did your grandmother and grandfather go to? Did they attend, do you know?
The Holy Apostles.
Holy Apostles, okay. All right. Now, let's talk about this. That was the grandparents on
My dad's
your dad's side. All right, let's talk about the grandparents on your mother's side. Where did they live?
My grandparents lived in Kaukauna, as long as I can remember.
And did you spend any time with them at all?
I used to, my mom and dad used to go cherry picking, and then the kids that didn't want to go, then I used to stay by my grandma's for a couple of weeks.
Okay. Now, do you know what kind of work your grandfather did?
No, I don't.
And did he ever talk about his educational background? No? Did he speak Oneida?
I can't remember him really talking that much. I know he spoke English. Yeah, he probably did speak Indian because that's how my mother used to always talk to my grandma. And
I see.
I know my grandma was couldn't speak very much English. Grandma Ida.
And did she ever tell you what her educational background was?
No.
No?
I didn't know much about either one of them.
Okay.
You know, I stayed with them when I was quite small, but
Okay.
I can remember them.
Was she pretty much of a homemaker too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
She was a good cook. Lots of pies and stuff
And
like that.
how big was the family on that side? Aunts and uncles.
Oh, okay, there was, of course, my mother, Eva, and there was Irene, Lena, Pat, and Edison. And I think there was Uncle Fred, too. I didn't know much about him.
Okay. All right, let's talk about your parents then. Do you know what kind of educational background your dad had?
I don't really know. We never talked much about that.
What kind of work did he do?
He worked, just from different ones telling me, he was a chauffeur when he was young. And I can remember he worked too at the Northern Paper Mill for a time. And then he worked on construction the rest of his life, I think it was.
And where was their home at?
The homestead on, I guess now it's called Overland, and I don't think that's Silas back in there. I'm not sure. But then it was just, they didn't have names for the streets. I know it was a big long driveway back into the old Joshua Skenner homestead. And when he passed away, then we moved there.
What about your mother? Do you know what her schooling was like?
I think she went to Flanders, and she graduated from there.
Flanders?
And I can remember her telling us she was in the orchestra. And it sounds like she really liked school. They
Did she
learned a
play
lot.
in the orchestra? In the
Yeah,
band?
she played mandolin, and I guess some of the bass violin or bass viol or whatever.
In later years, did she keep up her musical hobby after
Yeah.
she got out of school?
She used to play for her pleasure, and for us, she'd sing and play. It was her enjoyment. Like when she, it seemed like even when she was, that would build her spirits up just to play the mandolin.
And she spoke Oneida.
Yes, my mother and dad both spoke Oneida very well.
Okay. Now, how big of a piece of property did you have up on Overland?
Oh, that, 27 acres.
27
I can always
acres?
remember, yeah.
So you did a lot of gardening then?
Yeah, well, they used to do my mother had a garden, always pretty big garden, and what is it, they used to contract beans. We used to pick beans and cucumbers, I think it was mostly.
So
And we had to pick the beans. Of course, we got paid for it, and we thought that was great.
now, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
12, I think it was.
Can you
But I was
give me their
looking,
names?
I was looking and I counted 10 today. I was my oldest brother is Lawrence, and then Thelma, and Martha, Ruthie, and myself, and Walter Norman, Some people know him by Walter, some by Norman. And James, Ellsworth, Eleanor, and Emily.
And where are you on the list?
2 more?
2 brothers.
Huh?
One, Ronnie.
Oh yeah, Ronnie. My brother Ronnie. Is that all then?
Did you say James? Jimmy?
Yeah, I think I said James.
And were you on the list? On the younger ones?
About the middle.
About the middle. Okay. Now, did you have electric lights and running water at the home?
No, not when we moved in there. There was a pump there, but they didn't want us to use that water. We used to have to go down to the end of by Harry Skinner's, and we'd get water down there. And we didn't have electricity then either, but we did get it later on. And running water was quite a bit later, it seemed to me.
Now, your mother must have had to work pretty hard to keep up that family and do a lot of cooking and
Yeah,
washing clothes and sewing.
yeah, I can remember she did a lot of washing and cooking. She was a very good cook, I thought. Everything used to taste so good. And I
How?
think she learned quite a bit of her cooking when she was at school.
Mm-hmm.
She was a good cook. And
Now, did they pass the language along to the kids?
no, but they used to speak it all the time to each other, but they never tried to teach us. My older brother, Lawrence, seemed like he understood, because he used to go by he'd live with one grandma, the other grandma, and they, always spoke Indian to each other, especially Grandma Ida and Jameson.
What were some of the main things that you remember at home, like on a Sunday? What would you typically do?
We used to go to church, Sunday school by the Episcopal Church, and then we'd always, my mother would always cook a big meal on Sunday, and then we'd just usually go out and play baseball or whatever the season, football, and some of the neighbors would come over, and we usually all played together. Of course, we had enough to have a team by
Sure.
ourselves. And then the Scanners, Linus Scanner lived across the way, and his kids used to come over and play with us, and we'd have a good baseball game going on. Then in the wintertime we went skating and sledding and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. What would be a typical Christmas? A lot different than it is now, isn't it?
Yes. We didn't, because we had such a big family, we didn't, have too much. It was just mostly always, a big meal, and we got a candy and stuff like that. And I can remember the church used to have, Christmas Eve was always a big, thing. They'd have the midnight service, and it was a long service. And then, I don't know if everybody remembers that, but they used to give each family like presents and bags of candy and stuff, and we thought that was great. And I think that the presents usually were more like clothes, like mittens and whatever. Can't remember too much, but I remember that. And that was always the big event.
Well, you had a tree, though?
Yeah, we'd have a tree. And that was, my mother and dad got some things, but not much. Just, we were always happy, though, to get whatever they decided to give us.
What about Hoyan? Do you practice Hoyan?
I can remember Hoyan. My older brothers and sisters used to go. They used to go from house to house, and my mother used to make donuts. Other than that, I was, when they still did that, I was pretty young.
I see.
Yeah. I didn't get to go. Got some of the donuts when they got back, though.
Where would your family normally shop?
Always in Green Bay. Well, up to Oneida, too. They had the the store up there, Schrader's and Morgan's, mostly Schrader's, and then Green Bay, you know, because my dad worked in Green Bay, so once a week they'd do a big shopping there, and then in between they would go up to Oneida. Not too much to the pier, though.
I see. And you mentioned that some of them would go up to the cherry orchard. And that's during the summertime
Yeah.
that we go up there. But you didn't go?
Well, when I went by my grandma's, I was too small to go up to the cherry camp, but they would just take the older kids along, and they would stay up there. I think it would be about, it seemed like it was like 2 weeks. Yeah, sometimes they would come home on a weekend, but I remember maybe it was different years, you know. But I remember when I was smaller, then that's when I had to go stay with we called her Dodo, in Kakana, and I used to get pretty lonesome. It would just be me and my sister would go, and I'd be glad to go back home, you know. I used to being home.
Is there any other holidays that you remember, you know, when you were at home?
Not too much. I don't know if we did much for Easter, like we'd dye eggs and stuff like that. But, and it didn't seem like we did too much on birthdays and stuff either. We probably did, but I don't remember. I'm getting old, I don't remember that one.
What about when somebody got sick? What did you usually have to do? Do you remember anything like that?
There wasn't, it seemed like we were all pretty healthy. It would just be, I can remember one time my brother Ronnie got cut real bad on his arm, and they took him to the hospital, but it seemed to me like it would be Dr. Hill that, you know, that they would call to come to the house if someone was really sick. But most of the time that I can remember, we didn't go to the doctor very much. They had a little clinic up in Oneida, and they did, I think they did dental work there, and they had a doctor there certain times. I don't know if it was once a week or what. But that's where we would get our care mostly. We never hardly ever.
Do you remember any kind of hobbies or activities that your parents might have been involved in?
I know my mother used to crochet, and she did sewing. She used to do some sewing, not a lot, but that's what she did.
And what kind of heat did you have? Did you burn wood?
Seemed like we burned wood, I think, and then later on oil. We had an oil burner after a while, and I think that was what we had always in the oil burner that I can remember.
Did you ever have hear your parents talk about the New York clam?
Yeah, a little. They used to, not too much. It seemed like I could hear them discussing it, you know, but they used to go, my dad used to go to, they had Indian classes across by the mission, and they used, when Longsbury came, and he used to go up there, you know, to those classes or whatever it was about, I don't know. My mother didn't go, but he did. And then he would tell her about, you know, what they were, how they spoke, how they said some of the words were different than what they said, and they would kind of discuss it, you know, and say who was saying it right and who was saying it wrong, and then, you know, they'd laugh about it too.
What about the reference that they make about the 52 cents? Do you remember that?
Yeah. I can remember they would seem like they would look forward to getting the 52 cents. You know, I could hear them talking about it, but I don't remember how old I was then. But I can remember when they used to get it. And I guess I would get it for each child.
Where did you Where'd you start school?
We used to live by Chicago Corners, and I went to school at Chicago Corners. We lived there for I don't know how many years. Across from my Aunt Irene's. It was, I think they used to call them, it was an allotment. We lived down there, and they had a little small house there. We lived there for, let's see, must have been about 4 or 5 years or so. Maybe longer, I don't remember. But I went to Chicago Corner School there. And then we moved back, then we moved by the homestead.
And then where'd you go then?
I went to Highview. Let's see, I must have been like maybe the 5th grade or something like that when I started there. And I graduated from Highview School.
And once you finished Highview, where did you go?
I went to Green Bay, East High in Green Bay. They would take us there on a bus. Like now they say we're bused, And there was a lot of kids that were on the bus, all the kids from Oneida.
Was that what you would call a big change from going to a rural country school to a school in Green Bay?
Oh, yes. It was. We had a one-room school there where I went to grade school. And it was really I went to, first they went to junior high, Washington Junior High. So that started, I think, from the 8th, 9th grade. Must have just went there 1 year. And then over to East after. It was just a short distance, away from each other.
How did you blend in? Did you seem to pick it up pretty easy, the change?
It was, for me, it was kind of hard, because I wasn't as outgoing as like my sister Ruthie. She was, she made friends and she was a talker and stuff. But I can't remember anything bad about it. That we seemed like we were accepted pretty well, and I can't remember anyone saying bad things to us or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as we would have a break or whatever, at lunchtime there was a park across the street, and all the Indians always we'd gather together. We never associated too much with the white people.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like it was all right. I didn't mind it,
Now, when you started going to high school, did you do other kind of work, like during the summertime, besides picking beans and cucumbers and
No,
things like that?
no, not much.
No?
I never, like working in town or something. I didn't. And high school, you're talking about when we were younger yet. Yeah, we used to just do the stuff at home there, because they always had the the crops that my parents did. And but when I was in high school, I started working. I worked out. It was like a live-in. I lived with a family during the school year. And then I would help at the chores there at the home, and I think I'd get off every other weekend or something like that. I don't remember how much I was paid, not much, but it was something, I guess.
What was the recreation like in terms of, for teenagers at that time?
Well, they used to have, it was called YPF at the Mission, and I think once a week we went there, and they might have had other recreation, but I can't remember too much. But then we used to go sledding and skating and played baseball. And that was about it.
There were quite a few baseball teams around here at the time?
Yeah, the girls and the boys.
Did you play at all?
For a short couple years I played.
Were you involved in any other activities at school during your high school years?
No. We used to just go to the basketball games and stuff because we were bussed in if, anyone that wanted to go could go. And there was always quite a few that went. Basketball and football. So that was, what we mostly did, going to town. They had other activities that the kids from town did, but at the YMCA. But we used to go. We went start and then drop out and stuff. It was sort of like 4-H. I think they did have 4-H by the parish hall too.
Sure.
Yeah, where we did different things.
Okay. When did you leave high school?
I graduated in 1950, I think.
Okay. And then what did you do?
I just worked at Larson's for a short time, and then my sister Martha worked in Menasha at a paper plant there, and she got me a job, so I moved there, and I lived with her then. And I worked there, I think, a couple of years. I worked in a paper mill too.
Mm-hmm. Did you start a family during any of this time?
No, not when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get married. I got married in 1952.
And who did you marry?
Harold Ninham.
And what kind of work was he doing?
He had just got out of the Army, and he worked for a short time at Red Owl, just for a short time, and then we got married, and then we moved to Milwaukee because it was hard to find a job around here. He didn't care for that job, I don't think, at Red Owl, or he got laid off or something. He had just come out of the Army. And then we moved to Milwaukee, and we spent almost all our married life there.
And where'd you move to in Milwaukee? North side, south side?
At first, when we moved up there, we went and we lived with his grandma and grandpa, Oscar and Archicott.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, then we got our own place when he got a job and stuff, And we always lived on the north side. Just renting mostly.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of work did your husband get into then?
He was always in construction. First he was a laborer, and then he was a bricklayer the rest of his life.
Okay. And what did you start to do? Start raising a family?
Mm-hmm.
How many children did you have?
We had 10.
10?
Well, 11.
11?
One
Wow.
passed away,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you give us their names?
Yeah. There's, I always say JR, my oldest one is Harold Jr. No, Joanne, and then Harold. Now my mind is blank. Carmen, Sharon, I got it written down. Let's see, Sharon, Mike, Donnell, let's see, the boys, Bruce, Lisa, Lloyd and Conroy. Hope I didn't leave anybody out.
Okay.
I didn't count them.
All right. And you get
And
a
Elliot was the one that passed away.
Okay. And did you, you must have had some grandchildren out of all of those children.
Yeah, I think I counted them yesterday. I had like 26, I think.
26.
Mhm.
What about great-grandchildren?
I got like 19 or 20.
Wow.
Mhm.
Do you ever get together?
Oh yeah, we get together all the time at Christmas time. We get
What
Yeah,
what arena do you have for this gathering?
we just have it at one of the houses, one of our house.
Boy, you fill it up then.
We had a pretty big house on our side. We had 5 bedroom.
You had to have.
Yeah, and it was full, and it was full of presents because we'd have Christmas Eve, and then the next day we'd have dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, I'd be so busy, then as the girls got older, and the family now, they just have it at different homes. Like my one daughter will have it, and the other daughter will have it. We never went to a hall or anything to have.
Well, pretty much you raised your children down in Milwaukee then?
Yeah, all of them.
Mm-hmm. Were you into any activities? I know somebody said that there's a group called the Buckskins down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Were you affiliated with that at all?
yeah, we were
Mm-hmm.
members. Not right away. There was, it had started quite a while, and then it was later on when we joined.
Was there any other Indian groups that you were involved in? Or powwows that they had?
They used to have powwows, and of course everybody went to those. They had one at Croatian Park, it was called, and it was always a big thing for everybody. All the Indians used to gather, and there was a lot of people there, and their families, And then we used to go to the park all the time. All the Indians, well, quite a few of the Indians from Milwaukee used to gather. We'd go to Jackson Park, and we'd all have a picnic, and play cards, and of course talk and joke around, drink some beer.
Now, during the course of raising your family, did you work outside the home at all?
Mm-hmm. And my kids my son, youngest one, went into grade school. Then I started working. I worked in a factory.
And where was that?
That was, you mean the name of the factory?
Mm-hmm.
Singer Controls. And I worked there for 15 years. Mm-hmm. And then I was off for a while after that. Then later on I went into working at the school in the kitchen.
In Milwaukee?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think I worked there about 5 years or so. But that was like part-time. I had gone to part-time. Of course, my kids were all getting older then. And that's mostly what I did.
And did you quit working part-time then at the school?
Yeah, I think maybe a year before we moved up here, maybe 2 years before we moved back to Oneida.
And what year was that?
98.
98?
Mm-hmm.
Was your husband retired from his work?
Yeah, he had worked at a bricklayer for 39 years, I think, or so. And then he retired before I did. Yeah, then we moved back in his mother's home.
And where's that
She
located?
passed away in Overland.
Down from the apple orchard?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so that's where we...
And have you done any work around the area since you moved back, or you
I worked for a short time at the turtle school in a kitchen too. I think it was 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I retired last year.
Okay. Now, have you been able to take advantage of any of the programs that the tribe has, for the elders here in the community?
Not really. What do you mean, like?
Well, they have the elderly
the
feeding.
elderly feeding. Yeah, I go occasionally. Not all. When my husband and I, when he was still living, we used to go all the time. But I don't go that much now. Like if I get a friend or something to go with me, then I'll go, or my sister. And then, of course, we go to the clinic, you know.
So you utilize the clinic?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel that the tribe is putting enough effort into, providing services for the elders?
Yeah, usually when you call them for something, they'll come down. Like something breaks or something by the house. I've called them a couple times and they came down. And then when Harold was sick, they came down to make like a little ramp and stuff, when they knew he was sick. And they provided some, like a walker and stuff. Otherwise, I think they're doing a good job, especially with the clinic, where a lot of people wouldn't have good health care. I don't think if it wasn't for that, if you don't have insurance,
That's true.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
What about the per capita payment? Do you feel that is a help or a hindrance?
For me, it's a help. It doesn't bother anything, any of my income or anything.
Okay.
But I guess it does for some people. But for me, it's fine. You can get all extra stuff that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
And what's your feeling about the casino?
I guess I really haven't thought about it too much, but it has provided a lot of work for the people around here, but I think also it has caused, some hardships with people that gamble and, takes the money away from the families and stuff. But it seems to have provided us with a lot of services too, like we wouldn't get otherwise.
What kind of recommendations would you like to share with the younger people that are coming behind us in terms of any encouragement or recommendations?
I would say that they should get as much education as they can, and have a good family life, and they should stay away from drugs and alcohol. And education is the most important thing, And they have right now, a lot of people can get a higher education than we could when we were young. I have one daughter that went to college, and another one that went a couple years but didn't finish. But I think it's, my kids all had pretty good jobs, My girls all did office work, and my sons did, worked in the factories and stuff. But I think Oneida really offers a good opportunity to get a good education if they want it, and it's very important. One of the most important things, I think. I always told my kids, get as much education as you can. It's a lot different now than it was, before.
Well, I want to thank you for coming down and sharing these stories with us. I appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Okay? See, it wasn't so hard, was it?
Why don't you describe what we're looking at here on this picture?
This is a picture of me with my children and their great-grandmother, Esther Archicott. And this was taken, they lived in a log cabin. It was their homestead, and this is where it was taken. I thought it was interesting. That's why I picked this picture.
About what year would this have been?
Oh, I have no
How old,
idea.
well, how old are you in this picture?
I would say,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say about, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't have any idea.
A while back.
Doesn't say.
Yeah, it's a while back.
They have the picture.
No, it doesn't say. This says June on there,
All those
but
old pictures have dates on them.
yeah,
It says June?
yeah, but I don't know what year that is.
What year was June
1, 2,
in?
3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 7. I'd say I was in my 40s, maybe 45, something like
Okay.
that. I'm not sure.
All right.